Welcome back, Triumph Nation. This past week taught us it's not just about who wins, it's about how they get there. This week we'll cover CFP semis, and then we'll talk about a crazy Week 18 in the NFL.
Yeah, man, let's get into some college football. Number 10, Miami versus number 2, Ohio State. Miami got the upset win, 24 to 14. Let's just talk some stats real quick before we get into it. Carson Beck, 19 for 26, 138 yards, one touchdown with 19 carries, 90 yards, 25 receiving yards for 115 all-purpose yards. After this one, I was like, man, I can't get anything right. Like, this is I was not expecting this at all. I really honestly was just expecting, and maybe this is just me being inexperienced, a newer fan to college football, but I just thought Ohio State was going to run those guys over just with all the weapons they have, the caliber of QB. I definitely thought they had the better quarterback in the game. I just did not see it going this way. What are you thinking?
I'm right there with you. In recent memory, there hasn't really been any surprise football games. This past year has been different. Just Miami completely dominating from the very beginning of the game against Ohio State, who won the championship last year. I want to say it was the most surprising, but ultimately it was another game that was surprising to me.
We'll go ahead and go into the next one because we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Number 5, Oregon versus number 4, Texas Tech. Oregon just dominating, getting the 23-0 victory. Dante Moore, 26 for 33, 234 yards. And the Oregon defense, more importantly for me, just what jumped off the screen and what was the theme of the game. They held Morton to 18 for 32, 137 yards, 2 touchdowns, and they just dominated the whole game. What do you think?
I think they got tired of hearing everybody talk about how good Tech's defense is, and they kind of took a chip on their shoulders because of it. This was the most surprising game to me, and I'm an Oregon fan. No way on earth would have imagined Oregon shut out Texas Tech just because their offense was one of the most high-scoring offenses in the country this year. So just to see that was, and the total domination on defense was wild to me. Dan Lanning, he did something to him last week because they must not have liked JMU putting up 34 points on him.
That's what's crazy when you say that. JMU putting up 34 points on them. And Tech can't even get 3 points on the board. I mean, it was insane to say the least. I'm definitely looking forward to that next round for Oregon going against Indiana. So, anything else you wanted to add on that one? Let's get into some Alabama versus Indiana. Indiana took the win, pretty much steamrolled these guys from the beginning. 34-3 victory. Fernando Mendoza, 14 for 16, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns. Kaylon Black, 15 carries, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. Roman Hemby, 18 carries, 89 yards, 1 touchdown, and just a complete blowout. Was that something you were expecting there?
No, not at all. I think my prediction was like 35-32 Indiana. I got Indiana's score pretty close, but I was far away from what Alabama's score ended up being.
Yeah, man. And at this point, over the weekend, I was 0 for 3 at this point. I was really down bad. I picked Alabama to get the upset just because of their caliber, what they bring to the table every year, experience, being in this position before. Obviously, none of that shit mattered at all. And being the number 1 seed just came out and did what they did. That just speaks volumes. I've been saying it every week for like Kurt Signetti and what he's been able to do with these guys. Dan Lanning and Kurt Signetti, like these guys are just leading the charge for their teams. The troops are galvanized, and these guys play for them like they're ready to run through a brick wall, and that's not easy to do. What are your thoughts?
This year, just like in the NFL, we got a lot of new cats coming into town, and they're just completely dominating all these blue blood schools that we've seen dominate the past decade or two. So it's really a great time to be a college football fan because you get some new blood in the game, and this new blood is really flashy. It's really selling. It's very attractive. So it's been a great college playoff so far. It's been full of a lot of surprises.
Yeah, not only the college football playoff format changing, but the NIL, I mean, you could just see these colleges who have had the money but maybe didn't have the means to use it legally. They're now coming up, making some big waves. First and foremost, Texas Tech, one of the craziest schools that you really, at this point, didn't expect to be here, but they're here. I know they got completely shut out, but just for them to even be in that position, that just shows how much NIL and college football has changed over time. So let's get into the next one. Number 6, Ole Miss versus number 3, Georgia. 9-24, Ole Miss gets the upset. Another one. I just did not see this happening at all. What are your thoughts?
I couldn't believe it either. I mean, last we checked, Georgia was up 21-12, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. Georgia's going to pull away with this one or hold them off. And as soon as you blink, it's a competitive ball game, and Ole Miss is just doing whatever the hell they want to do. It's crazy. I did not expect anything like this level of performance from Ole Miss. After losing Lane Kiffin, I figured the coaches there would put some kind of chip on their players' shoulders to get them fired up, but I did not expect them to be this fired up. The whole team, the defense started picking up things, and then Trinidad just started balling. He was looking like Mahomes out there, so I'm super happy for Ole Miss.
I'm super happy for Ole Miss. Unhappy that I went 0 for 4. Like you said, halfway through that game, I was like, all right, I'm not going to be completely wrong. Like, it's not a curse. I'm going to make it out with at least one correct prediction. But again, like you said, something just happened. I don't know what Ole Miss, what the coaches said to them, but they definitely came out ready to play and did not give up at all and just got better as the game progressed. Chambliss, 30 for 46, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lacey, 22 carries. Oh man, 98 yards, 2 touchdowns. Harrison Wallace, 9 catches, 156 yards, 1 touchdown. So offensively, it was just an insane game for Ole Miss. And that was ultimately what was able to put them over the top at the end. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next round then. Miami versus Ole Miss. What do you see in your crystal ball?
My crystal ball is saying a lot of inspiring feelings for Ole Miss right now. I mean, you could say the same for Miami, but Miami's kind of been struggling a little bit through the playoffs. They struggled heavily against A&M, and they started off hot against Ohio State, and then in the second half, they didn't really do much of anything. So I'm thinking Ole Miss, they're the underdog, so they have a really good shot of proving everybody wrong, all the doubters wrong again. And if I was Miami, I know they have a really solid defense. That front seven up there is super stout. But after seeing what this Ole Miss offense did against Georgia, who has an outstanding defense, right now I think Trinidad and that offense and those receivers out wide, who both of them had a hell of a game against Georgia, I think they might just be able to do whatever the hell they want to.
I agree with you there. I'm definitely going with Ole Miss just for the simple fact of I'm going with Chambliss over Carson Beck. If it's the balls in either guy's hands to win the game, I'm definitely more comfortable with the ball being in Chambliss's hands. I just feel like he's more of a game changer and someone who can make a real difference. Now, does Ole Miss want me picking them after what happened the last round? Probably not. They're probably have tears in their eyes right now, screaming no, no, no. But ultimately, I have to make a pick. I apologize to Ole Miss.
They're going to come knocking on your door.
But maybe they'll win, you know? Yeah. We'll see. I'm going to keep going until someone shows up and tells me to stop.
Heisman players are made during the season, and then NFL stars are made in the playoffs. And Trinidad, he could be that up-and-coming star in a couple of years for the NFL that just surprises everybody. Comes up out of nowhere, and then boom, he's right here, and he's here to stay.
Yeah. Let's get it into the one I know you're most excited about. Number 5, Oregon versus number 1, Indiana. What do you foresee happening in that one?
This is one I really just don't know. I want to be super optimistic and stereotypical sports fan, but at the same time, I want to be realistic, and Indiana has looked like the best team in the country all year long. And we've already played against them earlier in the year in October, and they beat us by 10 points at home in Autzen Stadium, which is very hard to do. So there's a lot of concerns that I have. There's a lot of worries. The one major worry that I have is our freshman running back, Jordan Davison. I'm going to say officially out with a broken collarbone. I just found out that news earlier today. This kid's been outstanding, and he's had almost 700 yards. He's got 15 rushing touchdowns, and he scored 2 of those rushing touchdowns against Tech. He's just a big bruiser of a back, super explosive, super powerful, and he is always going to be the number 1 guy at the goal line and when it's down in goal yardage. So losing him is going to be tough. And on top of that, the transfer portal's up and running. And another one of our running backs declared for the transfer portal earlier today. So what used to be a running back by committee is now a running back by two backs in Whittington and Hill Jr. It's going to really be up to them to step up to the plate and relieve some pressure. Try to make as much of a difference as they can with those two that will be missing. But I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the spread is pretty on par with how the game's going to go. Outside of Indiana winning, I'm picking Oregon, obviously. But I would not be surprised at all if Indiana just stomps our asses, which I'm hoping they won't do.
You were very close. I almost thought for a second you were going to go with Indiana. It was very close. I will say you do have some hope, though, because I am going to go ahead and roll with Indiana to win this one. So there is hope for you that the curse holds strong and that you guys go ahead and pull this off. So I'm with you. I just think these guys are primed and ready to take it all. Indiana, that is. So, again, time will tell. But I'm definitely think Fernando Mendoza, like, man, where is this kid's flaw? Like, what does he not do good is where I'm at with it. The offensive line is just holding it down for them. They're able to get their running backs out in open space. Like, it's hard to see where Oregon's going to kind of overtake them in what position group or anything like that. So that's who I'm rolling with.
There's going to be a lot of NFL scouts at that game, too. Mendoza and Moore are arguably the first and second pick of the upcoming draft. So there's going to be a lot of eyes on them. And I am thinking about what could be one position group. I'd have to say maybe linebacker. We have a little bit better linebacker core. Outside of that, I'm not super optimistic. I'm just hoping and praying that the curse continues and Oregon prevails.
All right, there you go. Let's get into some NFL then. It's crazy week 18. Which one do you want to go over first?
I got Seahawks and 49ers. No one really lit it up in that game. Seahawks won 13-3. Kenneth Walker did play pretty well. He had 97 yards on 16 carries or something like that. And then, hell, even Darnold didn't do too bad. He was 20 of 26 for, I think 198 yards. So not a bad day at all for him. It was just a low-scoring game. And what was more concerning for me, how poorly the 49ers offense was. Brock Purdy was horrendous. McCaffrey was held to under 30 yards. It was a total domination. That Seattle defense is big time. I didn't think they were that good. They're pretty damn good.
Yeah, they've definitely made some good additions. I really love the addition of DeMarcus Lawrence. They got him from the Cowboys, and he's went over there and been like one of the best players on that line for them. So you said it, Kenneth Walker had a huge game. Even Zach Charbonnet, 17 carries, 74 yards. They had their day on the ground. Sam Darnold, 20 for 26, 198 yards. The defense just dominated here. The Seahawks had something to play for in the number one seed. They got it. So it's going to be interesting looking forward for them.
Yeah. Another thing, here's a question. Do you think the 49ers' problems are on the players not performing, or do you think it's the play calling from Kyle Shanahan?
I want to give more of the credit to the Seahawks defense more than anything because we've seen what Kyle Shanahan does, what it produces no matter what players are plugged in there. And we've seen Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, and all these guys be able to be at times the best in the league at what they do. So if you give me those two options, though, I'm definitely going to say the players. It's just tough for me to, like, the scheme hasn't changed, right, for the 49ers. He's been successful at what he's done for several seasons there now. So it's hard for me to say, hey, now that's just not working. And obviously teams are going to catch on and they're going to make adjustments, but it takes a lot for me to kind of blame the coach when, like you said, we're seeing Brock Purdy out there and seeing him just not play like we've seen him play before. And even just a week ago where he looked like he was one of the best in the league again. So I'm definitely going to go with the players if those are my options.
Yeah, most credit goes to that Seattle defense.
Let's go ahead and get into the next one then. Let's go ahead and talk about the Colts versus the Texans. Riley Leonard had his start. It was pretty much like, what the hell were we doing with Phillip Rivers on the field at 44 years old? But he had a bum knee, apparently. But I think it was after like the first week he played that Riley Leonard was back healthy. Seeing that, they definitely should have plugged him in, seeing what they were playing for. Riley Leonard, 21 for 34, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Texans won 30-38. CJ Stroud, 14 for 23, 169 yards, 1 touchdown. and Brooks had 63 yards on the ground. Marks had 48 yards on the ground, so y'all definitely had success there. You've been pretty unhappy with the last couple wins from your team here. Is this one any different, or you still pretty upset?
Yeah, I'm still pretty much upset.
Surprise, surprise.
When you see the caliber of play that your team has the potential to be and has been, when they perform under that standard, you just get pretty upset. So, piggybacking off of what you said, Riley Leonard, good gosh, this kid was looking outstanding. He was throwing bombs over our corners, over our safeties. And this isn't no Pop Warner defensive club. This is the best defensive back group, best defensive group in the whole NFL league. So, what he did was really surprising to me. And what else is surprising is the Colts didn't plug him in earlier. Whether he had a bum knee or not, who knows whether he had a bum knee or not. I think he played a hell of a lot better and gave him a lot more chance than Phillip Rivers did. Just imagine how different that could be for the Colts if Riley Leonard played those other 3 weeks, or at least the other 2 weeks. But at the same time, I'm thinking, we had several starters not play the whole game, and then in the second quarter, they pretty much pulled all the starters. The only saving grace for keeping the starters in for as long as they could was maybe the Jaguars would lose against the Titans, but Jags were up like 31-3 against the Titans at halftime, so at that point it was mute. They just decided to pull the starters to not risk a chance of having an injury or anything like that. So I'm bummed, about how we played, but at the same time I knew we had second or third stringers in there playing, so we're looking ahead at Steelers this coming weekend.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the ones I'm looking forward to. We'll do some picks here in a minute. So let's move on to our next one. Let's go ahead and get into the Steelers versus Ravens. That was probably one of the crazier games this week. It definitely had me locked in. What are your immediate thoughts on that one?
We're playing the Steelers. I would much rather play the Steelers than the Ravens, so I was glued into that matchup, just seeing who we were going to be playing in the Wildcard weekend, and I was hoping that it would be the Steelers just because we match up better against the Steelers than we do the Ravens. And if the Ravens start getting hot, and if they made it into the playoffs, they're a really dangerous team. So that was a crazy game. The Steelers had a father come in and bless the end zone where Loop missed the field goal to win the game. So that's a conspiracy theory you talk about. But it was crazy to see Boswell miss an extra point, and then a couple minutes later, not even, Loop misses a game-winning field goal. You don't really see that at all nowadays in the NFL. Just chances like that. Here's your chance. Oh, you missed it. Oh, okay. Well, now we got a chance. Boom, we missed it. You won the game. That's just crazy.
In a span of 35 seconds in that game, 2 missed field goals, one of them to win it. It's just crazy. And Aaron Rodgers, 31 for 47, 294 yards, 1 touchdown. Derrick Henry on the other side, 20 carries, 126 yards. Ultimately, just wasn't enough to pull him over the top. These teams just kept going back and forth. It was super competitive the whole way. They both had something to play for. It's going to be really interesting going into that next round. If Aaron Rodgers keeps playing the way he's playing, and if that defense and CJ Stroud on the other side play to their potential, when you think about it that way, you've got to think the Texans got to pull away with it. They've got the pieces around them. They've got the better defense. Got to be able to pull away from them. But again, this is the playoffs. You see on the other side, Cam Hayward just took over the game at some points versus the Ravens. So they both have X factors on each side. They are getting DK Metcalf back on the Steelers. I think that will make a difference. Who are you picking there?
This is so hard, but I have to go with the Texans.
Yeah. I'll just go ahead and get that one out the way. I know we weren't to the picks yet, but we have already gotten into it. I'm gonna go with the Steelers on that one. I just feel like I just feel like when the playoffs turned on, like these vets, like Aaron Rodgers, one of the all-time greats, like that just guys like that are able to flip a switch. So I think he's gonna come fired up, bring back that Perk Rodgers, and just light it up. And if he does over this Houston Texans defense, that is definitely going to be a feat.
Oh, 100%. He looked like he was a fulfilled man after winning against the Ravens, but this Texans defense is just completely different from the Ravens, man, and especially that front four. The Ravens had 1 sack on Rodgers, and they just didn't get any pressure on him whatsoever. And when they did, one time he scampered for 20 yards or so, but other than that, he doesn't really move like he used to in the pocket or to escape out of the pocket. So I think Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson, they're going to have a field day on that offensive line.
Guess we'll find out.
I'm ready.
What's the next one you wanted to go over?
The Panthers and the Buccaneers.
Okay. Buccaneers came out on top, 16-14 over the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young, 24 for 35, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. They virtually had nothing going on the ground. Hubbard with 10 yards, Dowdle with 10 yards, Tetero McMillan, 4 receptions, 85 yards. So pretty much all the offense that they did have was through the air. Baker Mayfield, 16 for 22, 203 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Bucky Irving, 26 carries, 85 yards. I definitely had the Carolina Panthers going into this one. What are your thoughts?
To me, the NFC South is just a snooze fest. This is it's like a filler game for the playoffs. You had two teams. They're both hovering right around 500. Tampa Bay won. You would have thought that would have been enough to put them into the playoffs, but nope. They needed help, and they needed the Saints to win against the Atlanta Falcons. So it's very rare to see teams playing to get into the playoffs, end up losing that game, and then somebody else ends up winning, so that boosts them into the playoffs. That's just crazy. That was pretty wild. I know Baker's probably not too happy with the Saints. He's probably hating them even more right now. But I just don't see whoever it was, the Panthers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, doing anything against the Rams. The Panthers are playing the Rams this weekend. I don't see them getting past the Rams.
Well, let's get into it. I have the Rams as well. Rams versus the Panthers. Matthew Stafford, he's pretty much got that MVP locked up after his 4-touchdown performance. Sean McVay. I'm just not seeing the Carolina Panthers. I know Dave Canales, he's done a real good job this year of turning that ship around, but I'm not seeing them being able to do anything crazy to kind of upset this team. They need to have that rushing attack like they did earlier on the first half of the season with Dowdle and Hubbard making big strides, but it's kind of slowed down since then, and that's definitely made a difference on how they've performed.
Yeah, if that Rams defense or team has any weakness at all, it might be their rushing defense. They're a little susceptible to rushing, so that might be one silver lining for the Panthers, but they might just get steamrolled by the Rams. And Matthew Stafford, like you said, he should be the MVP favorite, especially after this past weekend. He is just balling. He's got 4,700 yards passing, and he's got, I don't know how many, I stopped counting touchdown passes. So he's just played really well. And the MVP races between him and Drake May, they're kind of a toss-up for me, but if I had to choose, I'm leaning towards Matthew Stafford. And that offense is just, it's super hot. I don't know how anybody could really stop him outside of the Texans. So, yeah, I got the Rams in that one.
The next one we're going to go over is Green Bay Packers at 9-7-1 versus the Chicago Bears at 11-6. What do you foresee in this one?
The Packers are chalked. Bears are going to run away with this one. I just think, that
right there with you.
That Packers defense is just, they just look defeated, and you don't really realize how much impact a player has for your organization and your team until they're gone. And man, Micah Parsons was pretty much that whole defense for the Packers. The Bears, that offense is looking explosive. Yeah, they didn't do too much this past week against the Lions, but I can see them racking up 30 on the Packers. Caleb Williams has been balling. He's had a lot of great development and progression this year. And then you have that rushing attack with Swift and Monangai. They're going to do their thing. They're going to take some pressure off of Williams. So I just think Ben Johnson is going to have that team rolling, and I'm picking the Bears.
I'm going to go with the Bears too. I think, to your point, you said Parsons. They've had several injuries, so it just feels like the Packers are kind of limping into this one. I'm just not seeing them being able to pull away. You talked about their defense. Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams, they're just going to straight up attack those guys, especially the backups. So I don't think we have to speak too much on that one, but we're both on the same page there. We're riding with the Bears. Next one we'll go over is the Bills versus the Jags. Who do you have?
This one is, I'm looking at the matchups. This is the toughest one to talk about. It's just very hard. I think the Bills will pull away with this one just because they have Josh Allen. They've been there, they've done that. They've been in the playoffs consecutively for the past 5 years at least. So the Jaguars had their opportunity a few years ago and they blew it. Yes, they're under Liam Cohen, and that regime has everybody rolling and they're fighting for each other. That offense is looking explosive. That defense is looking a little dominating, a little bit dominating. That defense is looking dominative, if that's a word. It's going to be a
Dominant.
word. Dom. I don't know why that just completely. My brain didn't completely grasp. Oh, there's another word for dominative.
I was gonna
It's
let you get
dominant.
it. I was gonna see how many words you could
Gosh,
create.
my brain is churning over here, bro. Anyways,
Uh,
the Bills and Jags, I got to go with the Bills. It's a tough choice to make, but I just think, yeah, even in Duval, the Bills are going to find some way to win this game.
For me, this pretty much hinges on one thing: is if Josh Allen's gonna do his thing and just take over the game or not. Ultimately, I think it's just gonna be a tall task. Dean Cohen has these guys playing like all stars. Trevor Lawrence just looks like a completely different QB. The offense is just clicking on a completely different level. Yeah, I just have them being able to overpower them. I think it's going to be a pretty high scoring game. I definitely have the Jags taking this one.
Yeah, I definitely feel like a 38-35 game is possible.
Yeah, that's a lot for Josh Allen to ask of from him himself. I know he's got James Cook, who's had a really good season, 1,621 yards. But again, they've got Josh Allen on the defense on the opposite side. I think he's definitely an X factor for the Jaguars. I just have them taking that one.
The Bills, they lack that true number one wide receiver.
Definitely.
It'd be a lot easier to pick them if they had that guy, but they don't. So somebody is going to have to step up. I don't know who I'd
Yeah,
rather
and I mean,
play.
I'd probably the Bills. Just seeing what they've done, playoff wise, not only in the past couple seasons, but in their franchise history. I do think there is something to that. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get into the next one. Let's go ahead and talk about 49ers versus the Eagles.
Initial thoughts is the Eagles have kind of sucked this year. They haven't really been the same team that we've seen them to be and have grown accustomed to the last couple of years.
The
And
way they play, you wouldn't guess that they're 11-6. Sorry to cut you off, but for me to see the record and then like watch the games that I have watched of them, this year they're definitely not a team that I would have pegged at 11-6 if I didn't see their record just based on the way they play. But ultimately, they are 11-6, so there's something there. They are the defending champs.
yeah, they look like frauds, don't they?
Yeah, and we got to think like the past couple seasons they've looked like that too, right? Like they had the season where they won the Super Bowl where they looked like all stars and then collapsed at the end. Even in the year that they won, they had several like multiple stretches. Conflict between the teammates, Nick Sirianni, how he was managing the team, and a bunch of drama. But at the end of the day, they're just able to make the right plays and at the end just do what's needed to win. So that's the other thing is, the team that's able to pull it out at the end, just keep their head down, got a lot of grit. No matter how much we fuck up, there's always a chance we're going to win. We're still in the game, you can never count them out.
Yeah, this game gives me feels of a few years ago. Like, you're looking at these two teams. Who would you say the better team is? I would say the 49ers. Yeah, they have to go into Philadelphia and in that environment and beat the Eagles, but I definitely think it could be possible. But at the same time, this reminds me of when the 49ers went to Green Bay and they were the favorite team, they were the better team, and they ended up losing. It was like 13-10 against the Green Bay Packers. So this gives me the same feels as that game. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be an ugly game. And as much as I hate to say it, I just think the Eagles will make one or two plays that really, really matter and that will give them the win.
Okay. I'm going to go with the 49ers. I know the Eagles are the favorite. I say I like the 49ers, but I like what they're able to do on the field. I like what the coach is able to call. Like I said, I'm a real fan of his offensive schemes and what they do out there. So I think they're going to be able to pull it off, the upset, and beat the Eagles. That's who I'm rolling with.
Last up, we got the Pats and Chargers. Chargers are visiting Foxborough. What are your thoughts on that one?
The Chargers 11-6, New England at 14-3. I'm definitely going with New England here. Just they've looked like a juggernaut throughout the season with very few hiccups. Drake May, 4,394 yards on the season, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Stephon Diggs at times is looking at his prime self, still making some unbelievable plays at times. I think they're going to be able to pull it off. You got two relatively young quarterbacks. I know Herbert's been in the league a while, but not a lot of playoff experience. I do like Harbaugh better as a coach on the opposite side. I know that's crazy to say at this point with a lot of recency bias on how Vrabel's performed this year. But I do like Harbaugh better as a coach. I know when he was available, I was the one screaming to fire McCarthy and hire him. And now we'll talk about it later. I'm doing the same thing now with the brother. I'm like, get Schottenheimer out of here. Let's just go ahead and bite the bullet, fire him, and just hire this guy. But I'm definitely going with the Patriots here. I think in spite of that, Drake May, what he's been able to do, the whole team that they've put together with Diggs, Travion Henderson, what he's been able to do in his rookie year. What are your thoughts?
I have absolutely no faith in the Chargers. Every year or every other year, they play great to start the season or throughout the whole season. And then just when it comes to playoff time, they find a way to choke. They choked against us last year. Herbert threw 4 picks. He had 3 interceptions the whole year. So I love Herbie. He is a great quarterback, but I just don't have any faith in them. So I think that's going to continue against the Patriots, especially in Foxborough. Drake May has been balling. Travion Henderson has been balling, rookie running back. And that defense they're not super dominant. Hey, I got it right. But they're not going to let you beat them, if that makes sense. So I got the Pats. Yeah, they've played a kitty cat schedule this year. But ultimately, I think they're the more ready team in the playoffs. I got the Pats.
Well, let's touch on some of these firings before we go ahead and get into the triumphant moment. We know who's the most surprising, but let's go ahead and start off with it. John Harbaugh. He's done with the Ravens. What are your thoughts? 18.
When I questioned what he was doing last week on last week's episode and not running with Derrick Henry, I didn't think they were going to fire the guy. I'm sorry, I did not mean to get you fired, Harbaugh. It was a crazy notification that I got on my phone earlier today just to see after 18 seasons. And when you think of the Ravens, he is the face, he is the identity of the Ravens. So just for them to pull off and rip the Band-Aid like that and start fresh, that takes a lot of balls. And that's showing me that the front office and the owners, they're here to win. And they want to win a Super Bowl because they feel like their Super Bowl windows right now, it should be right now with the players that they have. It was crazy. And that's just a one domino effect out of all these coaching fires. As soon as John Harbaugh got fired, or they said parted ways, John Harbaugh's agent said 7 teams reached out to him to inquire about possibly coming in for an interview, talking, maybe joining the team, becoming the head coach of these teams. He is still a great coach. I guess his time in Baltimore just happened to be at an end.
And that was all 7 teams that had the openings within the first, I think, 37 minutes of it being announced. So that tells you just the demand that is in for a Harbaugh coach right now. Man, it's a tough one because he definitely has a high winning percentage. It's just like when they've been able to get to these points in the playoffs where they need to get over the top, they're just in recent seasons haven't been able to pull it off. I don't think I would have made that move. I think I would have. It's hard because I'm like, do some more, try more on the player standpoint of it. Like, make a big free agent splash move, do something here, do something there. But it's like, they already signed Derrick Henry. They have Lamar Jackson. They have Zay Flowers, who's a talented wide receiver. They have Mark Andrews. They have Isaiah Likely. So it's like, how much more do you need? They have Queen on the opposite side. They have several really good players. So what it is, like, what's left on the table then? Well, is it the offensive coordinator? Is it the defensive coordinator? At the end of the day, the buck stops with John Harbaugh. So, like you said, props to the Ravens for making this ballsy move. I really hope they have someone that they can put in that place, because I definitely think one of the biggest advantages you can have as an NFL team going into the playoffs is a really good head coach quarterback combo. And what we just talked about now, the teams that we think are going to make it the farthest are the teams that have a really good QB head coach combo. We talked about the Rams with Stafford, with McVay. We talk about is D'Amico Ryan?
Yeah,
Is it,
D'Amico
or is it
Ryans.
Ryan's? Ryan's. That's why it's a S or no S. But anyways, him and Stroud, just those elite teams that have that really good combo. So I really hope for their sake that they have someone that they think fits well with that scheme and with their players, and can kind of have these guys plug and play, whether they bring in a new scheme or kind of start off where they left off. It's definitely a ballsy move, to your point.
I hope it wasn't like a knee-jerk reaction because when you think about it, they're saying, we can find somebody better than you. When I'm looking at these other coaches who got fired and some coaches who could be available, are they really better than John Harbaugh? Maybe so. One coach that I think could be would be Cliff Kingsbury. He got fired today. Seeing Cliff working with Lamar Jackson, that would be very interesting because Cliff was with Mahomes at Tech.
That would be interesting. But for me, after you saw how he did with the Cardinals, it's like he had that same style quarterback with Kyler Murray. He had a couple pieces there while he was there, and they just weren't able to do anything. So when we talk about putting someone in there that's better than John Harbaugh, I think, like you said, it's very difficult to think of someone that's going to be able to do that. Kevin Stefanski, I know he won Coach of the Year twice. He's not someone that I'm rushing to name head coach of my NFL team if I were to have one. Again, what are really the strong candidates that you have out there? And when you think of it from that standpoint, after 18 seasons, there's no way it's a knee jerk. It has to be you have some plan in place. You would like to think that you have some plan in place after letting go a high caliber coach like that.
Yeah, you just can't be pissing in the wind, that's for sure.
Well, let's go on to the next one then. Kevin Stefanski, this was one that was kind of up in the air. 6 seasons with the team. What were you thinking on that one?
Go ahead and call me an NFL analyst. I've been feeling this in my gut for a while now. Just they haven't had success in years. They had one playoff win with Baker. After that, they're just back to the bottom of the barrel. So seeing Stefanski leave, it's not surprising. But now I'm just thinking, okay, I predicted Mike McDaniel to go to Cleveland. That door is opening up now.
Yeah, that's something I would like to see for sure. It's just a tough situation out there in Cleveland, because I know a coach, I'm not rushing to take that job either, especially if I'm going to have some other offers. You talk about
Yeah,
Mike McDaniel, what he put together with the Dolphins, who were just abysmal before he got there, and then for a couple of years he had them playing really good and they were in contention. So you've got to think he's going to get a couple interviews. At the end of the day, I heard that I got an alert earlier that Jason Garrett is interviewing for head coaching positions right now. So for the Tennessee Titans. So if this guy's getting
really?
interviews, you got to think that Mike McDaniel's
Wow.
got interviews for a head coaching job. So it's rough out there. And if you're a head coach, it's you've got some opportunities for sure. John Harbaugh's definitely got his pick of the litter, as far as that goes.
I can see him going to Tennessee, maybe Arizona. John Harbaugh.
I don't think any coach wants to go to Tennessee. I don't think any coach wants to go to Cleveland. The city of Tennessee is great, but just the management, I don't know how you want to call it. The juju, the culture, the whatever. It's just, I cannot see that team. They had it there for a while, with Tannehill, the Henry connection. They got into the playoffs. Maybe you had something there with Vrabel, but at the end of the day, it's going to take a lot to turn that team around. So for me, when I think of Harbaugh, I'm thinking possibly the Falcons. I would even choose the Cardinals, the Giants. That would be crazy. I do not want to see that happen. But if Harbaugh were to go to a team like the New York Giants, a team that has a history of winning, that has a good solid defensive core, that has a good young quarterback, Cam Scatterbo, like you got to think that's way more appetizing for him than something like Tennessee, Cleveland, or the Raiders.
Yeah. The Giants are cursed, though.
How cursed can you be? I think they're in like top five for like Super Bowls, and then it was in the 2000s that they won something. So it's not like the Titans or the Raiders or the Browns where it's been like you just haven't seen it. You know what I mean? They have a
Yeah.
history, they have a culture, and they have a standard. So you can't say
Yeah.
that about every team in the NFL for sure.
I think the most enticing for me would be it would have to be the Cardinals because
Okay.
there's just no way they go 3-14 with the type of players that they have. Maybe because of their defense isn't that good. They're a lot of young guys, a couple old guys. They're always fighting hard, fighting till the end. But you got Marvin Harrison Jr., you got Michael Wilson, you got Trey McBride, and then James Conner might be coming back. And those are some pretty solid pieces to build around. And then you can stick with Jacoby Brissett, or you can go get a quarterback in the free agency or maybe potentially the draft. That's a pretty enticing job.
Yeah. Unless for me, unless they're going to move up in the draft, that's one of the biggest reasons I picked the Giants over them because Jackson Dart, he's showed you something. He showed you he's capable. I would do Kyler Murray before Jacoby Brissett, even after what I saw this year, just because the talent. We've seen what Brissett can do. I think neither of those guys are going to be the right pick moving forward for the Cardinals, but I would definitely say that one and the Giants are definitely top two options.
Hell, even the Raiders. They have the number one pick. They're probably going to draft Fernando Mendoza. They have Brock Bowers, star tight end. They have
Stingy
Ashton Genty.
Crosby.
They got Max Crosby on the other side. He's a game changer. They really just need they need a number one out wide. They definitely need some offensive line help. Good God,
Yeah.
I can't believe Geno Smith is still alive after being behind that offensive line. Same with Ashton Genty. When you really think about it, it's just there could be a lot of enticing teams out there for these coaches.
Let's go ahead and get into the triumphant moment. I'm going to go with the easy one this week here. Myles Garrett on the season, 43 solo tackles, 23 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, set the NFL sack record this weekend. We talked about it a little bit, maybe some controversy with it being 18 games or an extra game versus what Strahan had when he made the record. It took him the full amount of games to achieve that. At the end of the day, it's just a huge accomplishment. No matter what season, what year, how many games, 23 sacks is unbelievable. And this is after he just got that huge contract. This guy is just from another planet. And it's just triumphant just to see where he's come from, coming out of A&M, being able to do what he's done, just be a freak, be the number one pick, and just stay consistent and just be everything that he was advertised to be and just continue to do it at a high level is not easy to do. So super awesome, super great to see, to witness greatness. What do you have for us?
I've got Trinidad Chambliss as my triumphant moment. This past week, he led the Ole Miss Rebels to a 39-34 victory over Georgia. It's supposed to be a SEC blue blood, a super dominant team, not just in the SEC, but in the whole country. He's doing that without his head coach, Lane Kiffin, who just deserted everybody, pitched camp and dipped. And we were talking earlier about you got to have that really good coach and QB combo. And when you're the starting quarterback of a college football team and your head coach just up and dips, and now you've got to figure out everything with I wouldn't say a brand new coach, but a new head coach. Just the obstacles you go through, the challenges you're going to face. That takes a lot of determination, that takes a lot of grit, and for you to go above and beyond those expectations with that coach is very triumphant. He was 30 for 46. He had 362 yards passing against Georgia. I don't know too many quarterbacks that have had that much success playing against Georgia. But that just goes to show to the fact that he's facing these challenges, and instead of backing down, giving up, or freaking out, he rises above and he triumphs in those moments.
Definitely triumphant moment from him. He put on, we talked about it, I think more specifically me in the beginning in the first round, like them not even being able to overcome that first challenge that they had. So for them to even get this far, for him to play like he did and just come back in that game versus Georgia, it's triumphant to say the least. And it's exciting to see if we're going to get some more of that from him in the next round. It's beautiful, man. Let's go ahead and close it out.
Well, we would love to hear feedback. DM, comment, let us know how terrible our picks are, and we will see you on the next one.
All right, see y'all.